Today I'm going to talk about user testing, or to be more exact, I'm going to talk about how to manage user testing, how to reach users, recruit them, schedule them, interview them, and then collect the results. Many people avoid doing user testing just because it looks such a huge task. And that is a big task if you don't know what you're doing. But today I'm going to take you step by step. I'll show you all the tools we're using, how we use them, and how we address it as a professional ongoing process that we run in the studio. In our work doing design sprints, we meet users from many domains, from B2B to B2C, from high level personnel to designers or programmers, and not only high tech. And we have to recruit these users using our process. And we have the same process always, recruiting the users and getting them in line, because that's actually the best source of information you're going to get about your products and about your ideas, and to see if what you're doing is something that really somebody out there wants. So let me share with you like the outline of the process. Okay, so if I'm like on a high level looking at it, first you need to write an ad, you need to communicate who are you looking for, and then you're gonna be setting the campaign. So there are many ways you can reach the users. I'm gonna talk about it in a more elaborate way on the next few minutes. And then after you set up the campaign, you need to qualify, because you're going to get a lot of leads, and you need to qualify them to see if they are actually the users you're looking for. Finally, you're going to schedule a meeting with them. You communicate all of the process with them, and once they show up, hopefully they show up, you interview them and you collect all the data, you present it in the company, but you also need to reward them. So this is a complete process, and if you don't reward your users, then you're counting on a less commercial operation. You ask people for favors. I don't believe in that. I believe that if you pay a user for their feedback, it's also just, but not only, it's a way you're getting better users, because they're being paid for their time, they'll be more patient and more happy. Okay, so back to writing an ad. So how would an ad look like? So the first thing you do is important, is to identify exactly the good title for who are we looking for. In this case, we're looking for a product manager living in Europe that is interested in testing a new design-related product. Okay, so we're selling here something about design. We're not very specific about what we're going to test, because we don't want them coming in biased. We have a process of getting them in there. But we want to make them intrigued. We want to convince them that coming into our session will be interesting for them. And then we state the date. Are you available on November 19 for a 45 minutes video interview? If you're interested, please click on learn more or fill in the following form. So we're sending them into a type form. I'm going to talk about the type form we're using later on, but that's it. It should be short. It should be very clear to who you're addressing and how they are supposed to behave. What's the call for action? Also, we should be using an attractive image. That's probably the most important part of the ad. You want to attract the users you want to reach. So you'd be probably looking for an image that you can use. It should be image you have rights. And you can also use Google. So what we do is we use Google Images, and here I just search for product manager. And one thing to make sure is that in Google search, under tools, you can ask Google to show you only creative that are common license, that you don't need to pay for, because there are a lot of crazy, very good images you need to pay for. And if you don't want to pay for all of the imagery you use for these kind of advertising, you can try and select uh, Creative Commons if they're allowed. So here that looks like an attractive image. I've already copied that to my ad. Also, you can go into an image bank or create those images yourself. The image is so important. For the title, you're going to write user testing, looking for user testing, and if you're going to give benefit, you may want to state the benefit of that. I'm going to get there very pretty soon. So first you need to write that text. And that text is going to be used for us in the range of channels we're going to be using to reach our users. After writing the ad, the second thing you want to do is you want to set up the campaign. I'm going to show you now how we're doing it in Facebook. We're actually setting the campaign in Facebook, enabling users to click and try to be qualified to our user testing. There are many channels that are relevant for getting users. So I just named a few. So we're using Facebook ads mainly for users for B2C. When we're looking for consumer goods, selling consumer goods or a product that is related to consumers, this is very good. Also, if you're not looking for C-level, you're looking for professionals, Facebook will be okay. Going up the ladder, or if your software or service is directed into specific title, job title, then sometimes you want to use LinkedIn. I'm going to talk about that too. But let's start with Facebook, okay? So Facebook and LinkedIn are both good platforms. We also use Slack, so Slack groups in many cases. And we use LinkedIn Sales Navigator if we're looking for C-levels or personal connections we have. Our last resort is to contact existing clients. We always look for fresh eyes. We're not looking for somebody who already knows our brand and is already biased from the service we're currently giving him. So let's go into Facebook. Okay, so Facebook is quite confusing. They're changing their interface all over again. So now, as we speak, if you want to go and create an ad, you can click on, you can go to your wherever on Facebook, and you have this create thing, and you can click on add. Okay, and that will open you a wizard for creating an ad and starting a new campaign from scratch, which is what you need. So here you have a campaign, and what we're looking for as a type of campaign, we're looking for traffic, because we're going to take the traffic out of Facebook into our type form, into our qualification form. You can also have lead generation. We've tried that in the past. That didn't work so well. People were not feeling the friction, and actually I prefer to take them out of Facebook, but both are valid. Well, for this example, I'm going to use traffic. So actually we're driving traffic away from Facebook into our qualification form. Let's give our campaign a name. Okay, so let's select user testing. Now, in this example, I'm using here, you can see that I'm using my personal account. That is for a reason. You can use a business account, but you're at risk of being blocked by Facebook because they see this type of advertising as job opportunity, and then you have to declare this as a job opportunity. And they're less inclined to do that if you're not using a business account that is related to a business page or something like that. So if it's an option, I recommend, so that's my personal experience, recommend using your personal account. You can hook it to the business credit card, that's fine. But you're less, Facebook is less inclined to block you as part of giving a job opportunity, which is a completely different set of ads, and you'll be very, very limited in your capabilities to target the users. And that's really significant because without age targeting, which is limited, of course. Age and gender, of course, limited when you're advertising for a position, which is perfectly okay. But sometimes you have a complete requirement for an age bias in your user testing. Your product may be for elderly people, and you just need elderly people. So you need these targeting options, and you can't have it as a job opportunity. So Facebook has this structure, and you don't need to be a PPC guy. This is really, really simple. It's not that complex to set up a recruitment ad. If you really need help, you can take a PPC guy, but I'm taking you through this, so that's interesting for you, and you can use it whenever you want. So you have the campaign as the top object, and then underneath that you'd have an ad set, which can be a group of ads that group by a target audience. So we'll name this like user testing audience, and we'll name our sample. Okay, so we're going to create all objects related to our campaign. Here you see in the background, Facebook created this campaign, and now they're taking us through a really kind of a friendly user flow. So that's the campaign name. And now remember, I talked about special ad category is if you have a job related, you need a job related ad, you need that. In my personal account, I can't do that, and that's fine. I don't need it. Okay, so I'm gonna use the campaign and auction for generating traffic. No need to go deeper than that. I don't need an A/B testing. It's just for user testing. I'm gonna have campaign budget optimization. I'm gonna give a daily budget. So these I'm gonna give something like $10 or $15, really depending on how much how difficult it's going to be to get my users. For B2C, that's like $15, $10, $20 a day should be just fine for you. But you can decide that. It is recommended that you start low if you have time to plan. Give the ad a few days of running. Facebook will learn the patterns. If you don't have time, then you need to put more money in the first days. But Facebook will learn and optimize their reach. So you want to start low and then maybe increase. And okay, so we're done with the campaign setup. I move next, and I'm gonna direct the traffic into website. Okay, I don't want them into WhatsApp or Messenger or whatever, and I don't need dynamic creative. I just need one creative for that. I'm not gonna give an offer. I have a schedule here, a start date. Don't put an end date if you don't have one. And now the most important thing is the target audience. So let's say we're working on somewhere in Europe. So I'm gonna add a few locations. In Germany. Yeah. So first thing, you want to narrow down geographically what you're searching. Okay, so here I have like Germany as a country. I can have Berlin as a city. I may add like let's say Austria as well. Okay, so that's enough for me. And you can see here how broad is my audience. It's huge, 46 million people. I need to narrow down this for people I really am interested in. So I'm gonna look for narrowing down, starting with age. So let's look. We're looking for people that are a bit older, starting from 28. We're looking for managers. We're not looking for people that are about to be retired. So let's limit that. We'll keep the gender, and then let's go into detailed targeting. And here you can look and search and play for and like look for different types of occupations or interests. So here I have people are interested in product. I may look for companies that like for this, like for example, IDEO is interested, people are interested in a brand like IDEO, may be interested in something like design. So you are going to narrow down. Here I have 10 million people already, so I narrowed down. You want to make it as narrow as possible, but not too narrow. Like $500,000 people is just well enough. Now we're getting to creating an ad. So here we have the ad name, and we can connect that to an Instagram page or your Facebook page. That's okay. So we can use one of your predefined pages that goes with your user. And for an ad like this, single image or video will just do. And we're not making funny with that. There are a lot of options in Facebook and templates and things. You want something that is bold and takes the message across. So I'll be adding like an image. Let's look for that, like page images. Yep. Okay. Never mind. I just have this like image. I'm going to select it. I'm going to put it in that. Remember that you have both Instagram and Facebook proportions you need to handle. And now the only thing I need to do is to give it a headline like user testers wanted, $40 Amazon gift card. Okay, so I'm pushing for the gift card. I'm going to take the text from my ad with the link. So I've placed everything here. Okay, and I don't need to put that description as well. That this is good enough. Notice I have here like spaces. I'm going to clean. And on your right, you'll see exactly how your ad is going to look like. Okay, so just make sure everything is neat and tidy. And also mind what will go like the first few sentences. You can copy my text and just use it. It just works. I know it's like always a hassle to come up with copy. We don't bother that much. We just use the same copy, just change the user title and do all that. Okay, so now I have an ad. The only thing I have to do is to click publish and make sure that we're starting to get in leads. You see that leads are coming. Again, B2C, that will work fine. Probably you get your users. If we're talking about B2B, you're maybe better off using LinkedIn. So in LinkedIn, you could use advertising, and if you click on advertising, you'd get to this screen where you can create a campaign, and it's pretty similar. You have a campaign, you have an ad set, campaign group, campaign groups it's called, and then you drill down and you get the ads, and it's very, very similar to the Facebook. The benefit about LinkedIn is that you can easily target job titles. This is what's LinkedIn good about it. Things that LinkedIn is bad about, it's pretty expensive. So if you're not going for a specific job title, LinkedIn will kill you with pricing. And well, all the statistics and follow-up tools in LinkedIn are not that great. If you're looking for higher level people like C-level people or managers, you may want to approach them directly. Just do a search in LinkedIn for, let's say, product managers, and just one by one offer them. Okay. Another thing we do is that we go to our clients and ask them for a list of prospects, potential clients on LinkedIn, and we address. So we get that list, we locate them on LinkedIn, and we try to connect them, saying using Sales Navigator, we contact them and say, look, we're you doing user testing, will you be willing? and that works sometimes very well. There's always a game between how much it's going to cost you to bring a user to that mass of users you need. Remember, for effective user interview, like user testing, I'm not talking about usability, I'm not talking about statistics, but user interview, you need 5. Just need 5 to get 80% of the comments you're looking for. So in any case, we're looking at putting around 50 to $100 to get users, especially if it's a B2C. Maybe you'd be paying $200 or $300 if it's a higher level people you're looking for. That concludes the advertising. Now we get a stream of users coming in and we need to qualify. We qualify everybody into Typeform. This is what our preference. You can use Google Forms, and you can use, as I said, Facebook lead generation forms. For us, Typeform is best because the user experience is much better, reporting is much better, and you can integrate with Excel, with Google Sheets, or whatever CRM you're using. This really helps you manage the entire flow. So this is my preferences. And we have an account, a paid account on Typeform, so we can do a lot of stuff. But even the free account, where it export them to Google Sheets or just keep them inside, is great. So looking at that, here's an example of a questionnaire we give on Typeform. So remember, we want to qualify these people. We don't want all of the leads. You may get like 100 or 50 leads, but you want these specifics that are interesting for you, so you make the most out of them. So in the opening questions and opening starting screen, we'll say, hi, we're at Interactive, we're digital design, so we want to test a new product revolving around, and then here it's about design sprint. And to ensure everything will run smoothly during the test, we need some info from you. We explain what we need from them, but we also say, hey, look, you're going to receive €40 Amazon voucher, and we price the gift according to the difficulty of getting these users. So sometimes we'll even give 70 or €100, and sometimes the people are so high level, like C level, that it doesn't matter. And you will not be able to do it through that. You'll have to operate with your personal connection. You tell them, look, this is what you get, but you're going to give us 45 minutes. So everything is set. Everything is clear. This is what we want from you. You can copy our text. Again, feel free to use it. And then we start by setting the date. Are you available on? Okay, so that's a yes/no question for a 45-minute Zoom interview. So we set up here, it's a Zoom interview. We're using Zoom as a tool, and that's okay. Sometimes before the pandemic, we used to bring them over, but I can tell you it's even better for many products that you do it over remote tools, because then you can record it pretty easily and get all the feedback shown back to key stakeholders. And then we ask them their name and a few background questions to make us understand which type of professionals we're talking to. And this, like the 2-3 questions we ask next, is very specific to the user testing we're running. It's just to give us orientation, enable us to screen better if these are qualified candidates. And so we ask about which country sometimes, and the years of experience, and the size of the organization. We usually ask because that gives us context, especially in B2B. And so here are things that we ask professionally. And we ask the email address. Okay, we ask the email address. Here we personalize it. So we ask the email address and the phone number. Okay, so these are must have in the contact form so you can reach them, but also show they're serious. People not giving their phone number is a problem. And before the user interview, just shortly before, We are sending them text messages. Hey, remember we have a meeting. So you have to have that type of information if you want to run effective user interviews, because people forget and you're not in their top priority. So you need to remind them and you need to have the means to do that. And we also put an NDA here if that's required. Usually it is. So we force them to sign up an NDA, and if it's a problem, then it's screened out. All of this is a short, not more than 12 questions, qualifying questionnaire. Usually, we connect, and Typeform is very effective in integrating the result into different tools. I like using Google Sheets, but you can use Excel or you can use Google Sheets, and you can use Slack that it'll prompt you, and you can use MailChimp if you want to automate the responses, which is great. Sometimes I use that. And you can automate some of the responses if you pay Typeform, so you can send back an email if you want to be you want to automate the communication with the users or the candidates. Once this is done, you can get the link for the Typeform to use in your ad, and when results are starting to come, you can review them within Typeform and see that things are coming in, and you can also see if your friction is not too high, okay, that you're actually getting users. Because we we recruit users not in huge numbers, we are not automating the communication with them, because usually it's very specific to that user testing, and so we like to just review them during the time we recruit, see that they are coming in, and once we have enough responses, we just go over them, and one by one we will communicate with them to schedule. So because not all of them are going to be qualified, so if you automate it in Typeform, you probably want to say, hey, we got your request, and we'll be back with you if you qualify. Once we decide that we want a specific user, then we can take their email and start communicating with them. So we've been writing an ad, setting up a campaign, and qualifying the candidates, right? Using Typeform. The next step is scheduling. Okay. So before we schedule, usually we communicate. And here I want to show a really neat tool that I'm using. It's called TextBlaze. And that really cuts short a lot of the hustle of typing in a lot of stuff. So TextBlaze is a shortcut, a keyboard shortcut plugin, Chrome plugin that we use. And it can enable you to just write text quickly. So for example, if I'm going to write an email to a user candidate, I'm going to have user testing title. Oh, and here you have the title already done. So that's really, really useful and cut short a lot of the time writing these email and phrasing them. And now I already have all of the phrases and paragraph we use already placed in TextBlaze. So if I'm gonna write like scheduling requests here, I'm gonna do that. Here I have a scheduling request. This is all the text I need. I may need to change here like the RAM, and I'm set. TextBlaze is really great. It can support many features, and you can update that. And here we're going to use Calendly as a link to use as a scheduling. So this is how I'm going to start scheduling. I'm going to send an email and say to them, hey, look, I want to start scheduling. But the tool I'm going to use to do scheduling, we call Calendly. There are a few options on the market. That's not the only one. I like it because it enables me to split meeting between team members and a lot of nice features for scheduling. So for me, it's fine. I'm gonna create a meeting type here. So it's gonna be a 45 minutes product feedback session like this. So I have a template for that. You can create it on your own. So you write down the description of the event, when people can book it, and usually I limit the date for the exact dates of the user testing. So if it's uh, okay, so we're talking about November, and here I'm going to do from the 15th and 16th, and so that gives me an opportunity to schedule exactly where I'm available. This is hooked up to my Gmail account, so I know if I have meetings during user testing date, I know it will not schedule me. And here I use a feature called round robin, so few team members can be scheduled, and there are many options. I'm not going to go through them, but eventually I'm going to get a live page like that where I can direct people to select a meeting, select a time, and that will schedule a meeting for me. What's important is that I need to create a description of that meeting that will tell them, hey, look, please prepare a computer, a laptop, and usually that's important. A lot of people are scheduling using their smartphone. That's really, really difficult to manage. So ask them to schedule and write in the description, both in your email and in your Calendly description, write that desktop or laptop are required, then you need a webcam and you need a microphone, so they're prepared for the scheduling. But once you have that set up and all the text set up, it's really simple because they just qualify. You say, okay, text blaze, I'm going to type some text, the link is already there, I send it to them and they schedule, and I start seeing my calendar filled up with meetings. With meetings. So here, thank you for willing to participate in our user testing. We really appreciate your time. The interview will require a desktop, laptop with a webcam and microphone. Okay, so another thing, we use Zoom, and Calendly enables you to integrate Zoom and set up a meeting automatically. That works fine. So automatically, once you have a meeting set up in Calendly, it automatically schedules a Zoom meeting for you, and that's also a huge time saver. You don't need to create a meeting in Zoom. You don't need to be busy about it, and it's already part of your Gmail scheduling. Okay, so going back to that, we've scheduled the meeting, we have the user testing day, and now we do the interview. User interview is a big thing. We already published a lot of tips about it. You have to check it on our website on how to run an interview and how to collect the feedback. I'm not going to go into that. We're using Zoom. We used to use a platform called Rareby, but people are so familiar today with Zoom that it's great. There are coming up a lot of video platforms and teams. If you're going to run a meeting with user interviews with corporates, a lot of them use Microsoft Teams, and you need to make sure you can enable that, because a lot of companies block one of these tools. 95% Zoom will work fine. So we send the Zoom, and today people are aware of Zoom. They know what needs to be done. And data, we use, so data we capture with notes with Miro, which is a great tool. And we have a video just specifically showing how we collect the feedback and how we arrange it when we do the interview. So I would also really highly recommend you look for 5-Act User Interview by Jake Knapp. It's a wonderful video explaining exactly how user testing should be done. Gave you a lot of tips. All of them will be in the notes below. Finally, after collecting the feedback, recording hopefully the Zoom. Zoom enables you recording. This is the reason why we're using Zoom, because you can record it directly to the cloud or locally, depending on your license. But the cloud thing is fantastic, and you can use it to record and then bring it back to the key stakeholders. Finally, when things are done, we go to Amazon gift card. And what you want to do in Amazon is search for e-gift card, Amazon. Okay, the simplest card that saves all hassle. Users really love that. Here's what you're looking for. And here you're able to select an animated or standard one, or bring your own, so you have a little thank you, show your appreciation, and you can do that for all of the users at the same email. So you can like put Ram here, and then you just put a comma and you put another one. So that saves a lot of time. We got to put a nice message. It is so highly appreciated. And if you're working for a client like we do usually, that reflects so well on the brand, that you think about your user time and you respect it, and you show it by giving them a gift. It doesn't have to be very expensive, but for that, Amazon gift card is perfect. Everybody can find something they can buy for themselves and they wouldn't have if they didn't do your user testing. So that's it. It's not that complicated. I know I got very technical and got into details, because I wanted to give you a lot of things you can, tips and tricks we use and all of our experience, and you're so welcome to look again and just copy paste our stuff, or just call us and ask us, and we'll just send it over for you. So what have we been doing? We wrote an ad. We used a template we're using, and we had an attractive image. We set it a campaign on Facebook and LinkedIn. One thing I'm really recommending is using Facebook groups. Share with group, use admins, and also on LinkedIn. If you have a good crowd, use on LinkedIn, use people that are networked and get the users. This is probably the most important and difficult part. You get proficiency as much as you do it. It's so worthwhile doing. So setting up a campaign, qualifying the candidates, scheduling them, cut shorting the communications, and standardizing them. Because if you use templates across your organization, your messaging are standardized and you know what works. Finally, you interview and you give rewards. I really hope I gave you a lot of value with this presentation. I know I wish I had this really organized way of how to get these users, and now you have it. So have good, don't have any more excuses. If you have any questions, remarks, comments, or ideas of how to run user testing, I'd love to hear it. Put it in the comments and we can talk about it and share information, because sharing is caring, and sharing brings you more business. This is why I'm doing this, because sharing brings you more business. So I want to teach everybody and give as much as I can. If you like what you heard and you want more updates about product, about user testing, about research, about innovation, then subscribe to our channel, and we'll be here next week like we always do. I love you all. See you real soon. Bye bye.